Hola, and welcome to another brand new episode of Le Drama Club. This week, Jon Gosselin sucks. Keeping Up with the Kardashians is over. I talk Foxy Knoxy Amanda Knox, and Stef tells us all about Genie the Feral Child. Stay tuned.
What up, fam? It's good, y'all. Feels good, right? Yeah, I know it do. And without further ado, we broadcasting live from CA to
I'm trying to do Dine LA tonight.
Where?
However, at Manuela, because they have that dope. It's like 3 courses, I think, for $40 or something. Anyway, however, I feel like if I step outside, the reservation's at 9. If I step outside at 8 o'clock and it's still smoky outside, like, no way.
And it's like outdoors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, me.
So we'll see what it's like later in the day. I've been keeping an eye on I got an air quality tracker.
Yeah. Have you been keeping the pups inside?
Yeah, and I turned up my air filter to the highest level and stuff.
So did I. I know. I was like, fuck, I'm gonna need to buy like 4 more air filters. The way this shit's going.
Oh, for real. Can you believe somebody was talking about like what is that famous Reagan quote where he's like, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago or something? And someone was like, imagine asking that question today. Like, we can't stay inside. We can't go outside.
It's fucked up. I felt bad. Somebody said like, this is my kid's childhood. And I was like, that fucking sucks. Like,
yeah,
they can't play outside. They're not going to school.
Mm-hmm. Not interacting with other kids and shit.
Yeah, like, ooh, this shit is bad.
I guess every generation has to deal with something.
Yeah, they do.
Like, honestly, like the post 9/11, speaking of, it was like very weird. It
was really scary.
Yeah, we grew up in a very weird time.
I remember being, you know me.
You were scared? I mean, they were uncertain times.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm ridiculous. Jon Gosselin, did you see that?
I did see that.
Yeah, so their 16-year-old son said that he punched him. That Jon Gosselin punched
Colin.
Yeah.
Yeah, and kicked him.
Yeah. So there's an investigation going on with CPS, and Kate was like advised that they're doing this investigation and shit.
And I saw Kate give a quote to she gave a quote to People magazine, and she was like, she was like, I don't want, I wish he wasn't my children's father or some shit.
That's fucked up.
Yeah. And she was like, they need to take him away from that house right now. She was like, I hope my children never see him again or some shit.
Wow. We got to do that episode.
I know.
Because their story is fucked up. But
I used to watch that show.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
And it was good. Like, they were honest, like really honest about everything,
And their marriage was like low-key shitty, but like not shitty, but like,
but it was just going through a hard time. They had fucking 8 kids,
Yeah.
Like,
and then one of their twins, like one of them was kind of bad, and then one of them was kind of sweet.
The girls,
yeah, and then like the little ones, I like the one with the glasses. I forget what his name is. Mm-hmm. But then I need to know why, aside from Colin, I know why Colin's living with Jon, but also another one, Hannah's living with Jon.
Right? Like, she didn't want to live with Kate.
Oh,
she just seems, look, to me from the outside, obviously I don't really know. She doesn't seem seem like a bad mom. She just seems like a lot.
Oh, 1000%.
Like, if that was my mom,
yes.
I probably wouldn't want to live with her either.
No, for real. And I get it that this is how she supports her family, but it seems like she wants a lot of attention. But but honestly, I can't blame her, because what are you going to do if you can't go work at the supermarket or whatever the fuck,
Yeah,
like, she's a nurse
kids.
actually. Like, you can't go back and like work at a hospital after that. You have to make some fucking money.
Yeah. Yeah, so I do get it, and like it's just like I just think she seems like a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, for real. But then so it's my understanding that Jon doesn't speak to the other 6 kids.
Right. He that has problems.
Yeah.
Remember he stripped for a second, May?
What?
I literally just got reminded of it because I was looking at what I had written down for today.
Yeah.
And I was like, let me see if TMZ has any tea on this, and they don't. but I just looked up Jon Gosselin real quick and like his
Yeah.
old. He like hosted a male strip.
I see.
Yeah, I was like, who wants to see that?
I remember on the show when he got plugs.
Yeah,
I was like, damn, you're really using that TLC money for good.
yeah. We thought Ben Affleck and Jon Gosselin in the running for the longest midlife crisis of all time.
That is so true.
Yeah.
I saw that Keeping Up with the Kardashians has come to an end.
Oh, as we go on, we remember. I think that's all I could sing without us having to pay money. Yeah, that's fuck. It's crazy to me that show's still even on, but there's so many of them that I get it. Like they do have a lot of content,
Right.
But yeah, you could tell like that. What's her face been wanting to stop shooting Courtney.
Because that's why they got into a fist fight.
Yeah,
right?
because Courtney, and it's weird. Like Kim tells her like you're fucking lazy, basically, and Courtney's like, I just want to focus on my kids, and like why is that a fight?
I think this is all right. So this is not a show that I watch. So this is just me talking out of my ass. But this is my guess as to what's going on. Okay,
Right.
so Courtney doesn't want. She's been not wanting to do it.
Yeah.
Kendall has she has a real job. So
Yeah,
like,
she's not on it really.
right.
Yeah.
Kim,
Kylie's rich as fuck.
Exactly. Kylie
She don't
doesn't
need to do it.
Kim has too much drama with Kanye that probably she doesn't want on camera.
Yeah, and she's probably like, my life needs to become more private finally.
Right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
then I figured the only ones that are sad about this are Chloe and Chris.
The mom, Chris.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But Chris makes money off all of them.
Yeah,
So
so
does
she's
she
fine.
really need? Yeah, I'm sure
She's
she doesn't-
already scheming for the next thing, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
She's scheming for the next generation.
Uh-huh. All the babies. The babies are gonna have a show.
Yep.
Kardashian babies. From the people that brought you Muppet, babies. Come the Kardashian babies. Yeah, that's finally fuck. I remember thinking like 5 years ago, like, when is this gonna be done? Like,
Yeah.
I remember when Paris Hilton was hot, she was hot for like 5 years.
Yeah, for sure.
And the Kardashians dragged their reality TV shit on forever.
It's because Paris had to carry that whole load on her own back. Nikki wasn't fucking. Nikki was like, "I'm gonna marry a Rothschild. I'm gonna make some handbags. I'm out."
Yeah, she really did. She didn't want anything to do with the fame and shit.
Yeah, I respect it.
Me too. Good for her.
Yeah,
So
and also
anyways.
they don't have a. Kathy Hilton doesn't seem like a momager. She doesn't seem like she's pushing them like that.
No, and she likes to be all like fucking posh and shit.
Yeah.
She's definitely Kyle's sister.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of which,
What?
Denise Richards quit Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Oh my God. I mean, do I blame her? No, but I wish it wasn't so.
Yeah, I didn't want her to go. I thought she was doing good.
Yeah.
I thought she had the potential to be really interesting too.
Yeah. Especially because she was taking everybody on. Like, she wasn't backing down.
No, she was doing, yeah, fuck, man. I don't know. And she had the background with like, what's her face? Yeah, and she was actually friends with,
Lisa Rinna.
Lisa
and Garcelle.
Rinna. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. I like that.
me too. So sad to see you go.
You know, how do we feel about actresses on this show, though? Because, so Rinna, Denise, and Garcelle all act, and I mean, Kyle I would love for us to include her in this, but
Yeah.
like, does it affect? It's fake, yes, but
Right.
like, does it affect your viewing of it as more
No,
fake?
no, because I mean, you do think of an actress as a fucking housewife of Beverly Hill at one point, right? Like,
yeah, that's true.
like, especially them, like, it's perfect, I think.
yeah.
I mean, it couldn't be like somebody who's actively has a career, right?
Oh,
Like,
because yeah, for sure.
then it would be super fake. But
yeah. I see that people are real pumped for the new franchise, Real Housewives of
Salt Lake City. I know. I was like, what the fuck? Do we need this? But I bet there's some tea.
Well, I guess one of them had to marry her step grandfather to inherit her mother's wealth or some shit.
What?
Yes.
May. Ew. There's always these random little housewives seasons that don't ever really last. So I'm always like hesitant. Yeah, Miami, DC. DC had drama.
Yeah.
Ooh, that could be a mini.
Oh, did we do that? No, that's a good one. Yeah.
No, yeah.
I would, if Thalia really does become a housewife of New York, then I'm gonna fuck around and start watching that one.
Yeah, I heard New York is good too because Bethany Frankel had a spinoff and all sorts of shit.
Yeah.
And those bitches have like real money.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is part of the reason why I actually really like
Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's also scammers on it, like Brandy.
Oh yeah, which is great.
I like a scammer in the mix. Talking about you, Dorit.
Dorit.
Did you hear about the Oscars?
Yeah. So they're making all these requirements for different, just to be nominated, or
Just to be nominated for Best Picture. You have to meet certain requirements for diversity.
Right. It's good.
It's fantastic, and also because they're like not hard.
No, it's like I saw it too. I was like, what? I mean, I didn't see anybody really say anything other than fucking Kirstie Alley.
She wasn't the only one, but a lot of people had that same take. Like, what the fuck? Like, this is going to stifle our creative process or whatever the fuck, because people are trying to be PC. It was a lot of white people. A lot of white people. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say Kirstie Alley. Yeah. She made a career off of being a mediocre actress with really great looks in the 1980s because she was white.
Yeah.
And now we have people that are actually talented. So yeah, you wouldn't fucking make it. You should be glad that you were around when you were around. Just shut your fat ass up.
Did you ever watch her show Fat Actress?
No, but it sounds funny.
I think I watched the first episode. I think it looked kind of funny. This is like a million years ago at this point, so I don't remember the details of it besides,
Yeah. You gave it a good go.
Anyway, people were up in arms, and the thing is, like, they're so like bottom of the barrel. Like, you have to have like one person in marketing who's either a woman or a person of color or some shit.
How hard is that? Yeah, how hard is that? So ridiculous. That's good for them for fucking actually doing something, honestly.
No, for real. Yeah. And people are still complaining. That's what makes it like so much more frustrating, though. It's like, damn. So what's it going to take for people to be more inclusive in Hollywood if like this like fucking easiest shit on earth is going to cause this uproar?
Yeah. Fucking Kirstie Alley. You're not even working right now. Like, what are you talking about? You're not even getting shit. I'm sorry.
Do you like that movie, Look Who's Talking? I fuck with that movie.
Oh, yeah. Is that John Travolta?
Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot about that one. Yeah. There's a couple of them, right?
Look Who's Talking too.
Yeah, damn.
Yeah. Kirstie Alley had she had good hair in the 80s. I think that was like the main thing that like propelled her. Yeah, she was bomb.
Yeah, and then she got crazy fat.
Yeah, but then she got that Weight Watchers money.
I know. No, I appreciate like that amount of weight gain. Because I think for an actress, it's like fucking wild, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Like when those pictures of Janet Jackson came out and she was like, oh, it was for a part. And it was like, bitch, no, it wasn't. Part of a pie? What are you talking about?
Has Janet Jackson been in a movie since Poetic Justice?
I fuck with Poetic Justice heavy.
Her hair looks fucking bomb in that movie.
Tupac is so fine in that movie. By the way, I'm not trying to fat shame. I'm a fellow fat girl. I'm just keeping it real.
And also, I think Kirstie Alley, she owns it, right? She's the fat actress.
Yeah, she's fat actress. Yeah.
Janet Jackson probably doesn't, though.
No, I mean, she made an excuse. And then Janet Jackson was always scary, too, because she would have, like, fucking abs 1 second.
Yeah, for sure.
And then be, like, kind of dramatically overweight. And it's like, girl.
Yeah, calm down with that.
Yeah, it's hard for your heart.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what's up, guys? My name is Stephanie. My name is fat actress Stephanie.
And my name is May. Have you seen that meme right now where girls are using their bodies to like like they're using like their butts to make the letter P, and then they put like period next to it.
No, that's
You know what
cool.
I'm saying? Or like,
Yeah.
or they'll use their boobs and it'll say like
Oh, okay.
mood.
Now I could participate with boobs, but I'm out.
I could be the I in pyramid.
I know, that's what I was gonna say. I can use my butt to do a L.
Welcome, guys. This is Drama Club. This is the podcast about scandals,
Celebrities, drama, gossip, sports, TV, film, Kirstie Alley,
politic,
reality TV shows,
and more. I wanted to give a shout out to Suzanne, who
Ooh, I like that name.
she made it rain. She made it rain. She made it rain on these hoes.
Oh, what's up, Suzanne? The real MVP.
Every time somebody gives us money, I'm gonna try to make a different musical reference to
Yeah, that's what's up.
a money song. I
Yeah.
think I already exhausted all of my musical references to money.
Nah, there's got to be a whole ass like playlist on YouTube like Cash Money songs.
Yeah, true. So thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you, Suzanne.
The study of human behavior.
I'm trying to remember who went. Oh, this is our 2-part episode.
Uh-huh.
So you're up.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah. Okay.
Which is cool because I got some fruit snacks and I want to eat them.
I want some fruit snacks.
Welch's fruit snacks.
Oh, those slap.
Yeah.
Oh, but
You ain't got tell me.
the ones in the purple pack though. Those
Yeah,
are,
the
those are more
berries.
better.
You're right,
Yeah.
man.
I also like the watermelon
Sour Patch Kids.
Sour Patch Kids. Yeah.
Yeah, those aren't fruit snacks though.
They fruit and they
They're
snacks.
candy. I could go for a bag of those.
Or you know which ones are also good? The Scooby snacks.
Mm-hmm.
Are Gushers
Scooby-Dooby-Doo.
are Gushers fruit snacks?
Yep. It's
And
in
do
the
they
family.
still exist?
Yeah, I think they exist, right? Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Amanda Knox.
Ooh, okay. Ooh, there's a good one.
For this, I watched the Netflix documentary Amanda Knox, which is pretty good. I like this story because it's an international incident and we don't get too many of those. I also like it because I think it forces us as observers to pay attention to assumptions we might make when someone is accused of a crime.
Oh my God, May, have you seen the Lifetime movie?
No.
It's fucking good.
Oh, I hope it's on demand or some shit.
I hope so too.
I'm going to watch that shit today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Amanda Knox was born on July 9th, 1987 in Seattle. She's the oldest of 4 girls in her family. And to be honest, everything about her childhood and adolescence is completely unremarkable. Her parents divorced when she was a kid. She was a good student. She really liked the idea of Italy because her family went on vacation there one time.
All right.
And her mom gave her the book Under the Tuscan Sun, which she was super into.
Oh, I fuck with that movie heavy.
Now, if Stephanie hasn't read Under the Tuscan Sun, I will be shocked. Shocked, I tell you.
Yo, anybody who wants to read or watch a mediocre rom-com, hit me up. I'm your girl.
It just definitely sounds like something you would have read.
Remember when Diane Lane fucks that Italian dude? Ooh, that shit slaps.
In Under the Tuscan Sun?
Yeah,
I have
then he
not
plays
seen that
her.
movie.
You never seen it? Sandra
No.
Oh's in it. Oh, I mean, it's not good, but
I have never seen that movie, but I fuck with Diane Lane heavy. Also, shout out to her and shout out to the movie Unfaithful,
oh my God.
where she fucks. Is he Italian?
No, but so similar kind of like sexy guy where you, and like she's just so hot that
Yeah.
it's like, of course you could pull a guy like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does she fuck him under the Tuscan Sun, though? Is that what the title refers to?
I mean, I think so, yes.
They might have been indoors. So Amanda loves Italy. So when she gets the chance to spend a year studying abroad in Italy, of course she takes that shit. Although, even though she was 20, some people in her family were vocal about thinking that she wasn't ready to go out there on her own because she was too naive. In the documentary, which is from 2016, so Amanda would have been like 28, 29 then, she does say that she grew up pretty protected. So in that regard, she was probably a little bit behind her peers. So yeah, she was a little bit naive.
20 is pretty young too, though.
But everybody, like lots of people study abroad, and it's
Oh yeah, for
know,
sure.
it's
Yeah.
it's not the end of the world. But like her
No.
stepfather specifically was like, "Oh, I don't know."
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's 2007, and Amanda is in Perugia, Italia,
Wow.
having the time of her life. In September, she moves into a great house on a hillside in Perugia, overlooking the city with 3 other girls.
Damn, that's sick.
It's so sick. They always show the house and stuff, and it's just like, what a perfect place to be at that age and everything. And
Yeah.
Amanda's like, I thought it was going to be like a grueling course of study. She said
Come
when she
on.
got there, it was like, excuse, like it was like she was on the dean's
Yeah.
list and stuff at the University of Washington. So when she got there, it was like, huh,
Yeah.
okay, I'm a party then.
That's awesome.
So anyway, so 2 of those ladies, Filomena and Laura, were Italian trainee lawyers, so they were a little bit older. They were in their late 20s. And finally, Meredith Kircher, a British exchange student who was about Amanda's age. Meredith's friends called her Mez. Mez was a lot like Amanda in that she too was a smart girl who fell in love with Italy after a family trip there when she was just a teen. Mez wanted to work for the EU one day, or maybe in journalism. So the 4 ladies all shared the second floor of the house, and the lower level was shared by 4 Italian guys. And everyone was friendly with each other. It sounds like a really great setup. Amanda and Mez were cool and all. In October, they went to the Euro Chocolate Festival together, and, and later a classical music concert, but they weren't like besties or anything. Amanda mostly kicked it with the Italians because, I mean, like, that's what she was there for. And also at that classical music concert, Amanda met a boy named Raffaele Solecito, a 23-year-old computer science student. And let's just say it was on Under the Tuscan Sun, baby.
That's what's up. Allora.
Allora.
I'm gonna rewatch My Brilliant Friend after this.
I might fuck around and rewatch it too.
Yeah. I've already seen it twice. Like,
and you saw it twice in like a 5-minute span.
Recently, yeah, recently.
So anyway, so so she's with this guy as she should be.
Yeah.
Oh, to be 20-year-old Amanda Knox eating chocolate, going to classical music concerts, and fucking Italian guys.
Seriously, I mean, it was too good to be true.
I know. Definitely in like the Lifetime version of this documentary, there would be like a crash right now. It'd be like something had to change.
Yeah. Or the behind the music when they like take a break after the break.
It goes black and white for a second.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mez also started hooking up with one of the guys downstairs.
Okay.
His name was Giacomo. So everyone was like doing their old thing. It sounds like fucking great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So on November 1st...
I'm not jealous.
We can't even leave the country anymore. So.
I know, fuck.
I do want to go to Italy one day, and it would be cool to go to like a town like this because I mean Rome sounds cool or whatever, but that's not my vibe, you know.
I would never want to go to Rome. I would want to go to like Tuscany, Florence.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Okay, so on November 1st, Amanda was at Raffaele's place watching the movie Amelie when she I used to fucking love Amelie, but I haven't seen it in like 20 years.
Me too. I wonder how it is. That's so funny.
So whatever happened to her Audrey tattoo?
I don't know.
Okay, so she's watching the movie when she gets a message from the owner of the bar where she works at saying that she doesn't have to come in tonight. And this is what happens according to her. She's like, dope. I might as well spend the night with Raffaele then. And they make dinner, they kick it, they have sex, yada, yada, yada. It's now the morning of the 2nd. Amanda tells Raffaele that she's going to head back to her place. When she gets there, Amanda says that the front door was open. Weird. But she sort of just like shrugs it off. When she goes into the bathroom to brush her teeth, she notices a few drops of blood in the sink. Huh. She still doesn't think too much of it. So she hops in the shower And when she steps out onto the bath mat, she notices sort of a bloody footprint on the mat. That's when she looks over and sees some shit in the toilet. And that's when she's finally like, uh-oh.
Wait, like literal
Like shit? Yeah,
Okay.
feces, yeah.
Okay.
According to her, she was doing these mental gymnastics to explain away the blood. Like, oh, maybe somebody cut themselves or like...
Blood in the sink wouldn't...
and it was like a couple of drops. It was nothing.
Yeah, blood in the sink wouldn't freak me out. I don't even think maybe blood in the shower would freak me out, but a footprint would freak me out. I
think. Because then you're like, damn, someone was hurt, you know?
Because I've cut myself with a razor in the shower. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
me
like
too.
I've seen blood in the shower. It's not like a huge deal.
So, you know, she's explaining away the blood, but the shit made her feel like, is someone in here with me? Sort of deal. Like, this is off.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, living with 3 other girls, I would assume that even if they weren't like the cleanest in the world, you're not just going to find a pile of shit in the toilet, you know?
Right.
Boys, maybe. Like if they were downstairs, maybe.
Yeah.
So anyway, so she calls Raffaele to come over and he gets there and he's like, no, this is bad. So they call Mez, but she doesn't answer her cell and she always answers her cell and she always has it on her, like in her jeans pocket.
Okay.
So then she calls one of the other ladies, Filomena, and is like, I'm worried about Mez. Then Amanda and Raffaele notice that Mez's door is locked. So at first they knock, and then there's no answer, obviously. And then Amanda asks Raffaele to break it down, but he can't. But he, like, visibly damages the door a little bit.
Okay.
So then Amanda calls her mom back home in Seattle, who tells her to hang up and call the cops. And finally, at 12:51 p.m., they do. So the cops come by, and they're kind of like standing around, doing nothing, while Amanda and Raffaele wait outside, thinking that this is just the case of an unanswered phone. When Filomena shows up with a friend, and she's like, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? Break the fucking door down. But the cops are reluctant to damage the property. So Filomena's friend breaks the door down, and that's when they see Mez's body on the floor, her neck sliced open, and blood absolutely everywhere.
Wow. That's fucked up.
The cops go back outside and tell Amanda and Raffaele what happened, and the detectives and the media arrive shortly thereafter. So we actually have footage of Amanda and Raffaele standing in front of the house, hugging and kissing each other while the detectives are inside doing their thing.
Right.
So the detectives immediately are like, like that's weird. Who's all lovey-dovey outside of a murder house? Also, Mez's body was found partially covered by a duvet. So the lead detective is like, that's something only a lady killer would do.
What?
You know
I
how they have
guess.
those weird psychological like
I guess,
trends?
Yeah.
So they're like, lady killer. Amanda's acting quote unquote weird. Lady killer. That weirdo Amanda is a lady. Amanda is the lady killer. Like, that's basically as simple as their train of thought went. All right, so the police have this in the back of their minds, but surely Amanda couldn't have done this on her own. Plus, there are prints and other forensic pieces of evidence that don't belong to anyone in the house, so she must have had at least one accomplice. And Amanda and Raffaele spend the day after the murder being quote-unquote weird. They were out and about buying panties for Amanda, and the shopkeeper overheard them talking about the wild sex they were going to have. So the cops bring Raffaele in for questioning, and Amanda comes along with him for some fucking reason, like just to keep him company, I guess.
I guess that is kind of weird.
What part? Like the sex talk and...
Yeah, like going out to buy panties and stuff.
Yeah.
But how close was she to Mez?
Okay, so they moved in together in September, and this is now November 2nd. So...
November, like 2 months?
Yeah. Yeah, like almost 2 months. But they're each doing their own thing. They have like their own set of friends. They've got these guys that are, at least the last week or so, she's been hanging out with this guy. So maybe not somebody
she knows that much, and like, then... I mean, different people deal with trauma in different ways.
Right.
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess it's not, you can't really judge her on that. But I think it's weird because I would probably be like fucked up if I saw someone with their neck slashed open.
Well, she didn't see it.
Oh, okay.
She was waiting outside, and it was the other roommate and her friend that kicked open the door, and then the cops were like, oh shit.
Okay, then I don't think much of it then.
I mean, I do think I wouldn't act that way, but
No, me either.
it's definitely like one thing to pay attention to. But it's like, just because someone is acting weird.
People distract themselves.
Right.
There's no right way to deal with trauma, I
Exactly.
think, you know, so.
And also, she's 20 years old. She's a kid. She doesn't
She's a
fucking know
dumbass.
anything.
Yeah. She's like probably exploring her sexuality for the first time. It's fucking exciting to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what she said. She was like, I'd never been in love before, and I've only known this boy for 5 days, but it feels like we're in love. Like,
Yeah. Because you don't know anything. You don't know any better.
Yeah. So anyway, so she goes with him. So the cops bring Raffaele in for questioning, and she goes with him to keep him company.
She's a dumbass.
Yeah. They take Raffaele away and interrogate him, and he says, Amanda and I were at my apartment all night. Amanda and I were at my apartment all night. But they aren't satisfied with that story, so they keep asking and later pressuring him to come up with something, quote, more believable, until he finally cracks and says that they were at his apartment until Amanda left at 1 a.m. So they go out and tell Amanda, haha, your boyfriend has turned on you. We need to question you in connection with Mez's murder. And she's like, what the fuck? So they question her, and she says the same thing that Raffaele originally said. But they allegedly they started smacking her around a little bit. Like they hit her in the back of the head a couple times. Like,
ooh.
Yeah, and just like pressuring her. And this is over the course of hours, same as Raffaele. And they're pressuring her to change her story.
What's the law in Italy? Like, you can't ask for an attorney and stop questioning, or what?
You can, but they denied her. She asked for an attorney, and then there's like a weird rule where if you're not a suspect, you don't have to have an attorney. So they were like kind of loopholing, like, oh, technically you're not a suspect yet.
And I think like what you see happen in a lot of criminal cases is police use their like power to just kind of, quote, solve the case, close it,
right, absolutely,
so that they could be done.
And they also told her that thing that we hear in the States, where it's like, you don't want to bring a lawyer into this. Like, we could,
yes, you do.
You bring a lawyer into this, you could be facing 30 years. Like, we could handle it right now, and maybe you can go home tonight or whatever the fuck. Like, they were telling her all this shit. She doesn't speak Italian.
Yeah, fuck.
She has an interpreter, but still,
Yeah.
I think a big telltale sign that she doesn't know what the fuck she's doing is she called her mom in Seattle before she called the cops.
Oh my God.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
What was your mom supposed to do?
Not fuck.
Okay, so anyway, so they told her that, oh, maybe she was blocking something out because it was too traumatic. Maybe she didn't remember. So then she's like, now she's like, what the, like, maybe I don't, like, maybe that's true. So she closes her eyes and she tells the story of what she imagined happened to Mez, inserting the name of her boss at the bar as the killer and saying that she was there and saw it all happen. So the cops then arrest Amanda, Raffaele, and Amanda's poor boss at the bar.
Oh no.
They eventually have to let that guy go a few days later because there was no evidence. He had an airtight alibi since he was working all night at a bar. So it's like all the customers saw him and shit. And also Amanda retracted that story when she got to her senses. Like, I think like when her parents got there and stuff. Meanwhile, the media is running with this story. It's the biggest story in Italy and quickly makes headlines in the UK because that's where Mez is from. And then, of course, makes a huge splash here in the US once Amanda is arrested. What's interesting about this is that it's '07. So this is one of the first high-profile murders where the media can pull up a plethora of photos that everyone involved had posted to social media.
Yeah.
So, of course, they pull up all the photos of Mez being the beautiful, carefree girl that she was. But they pull photos from Amanda's MySpace of her playing with a giant machine gun, like at a museum or some shit. Like, and her display name is Foxy Knoxy. And,
Ooh, that's pretty tight though.
and photos of Raffaele dressed as a mummy with a huge hatchet for Halloween. Like the stage is being set to paint these two as psychos and or sexual deviants, because one theory was that they killed Mez as part of like a sex thing. It's hard to understate the role of the media in this story. They were really pushing this literally around the world just to make the story bigger and bigger. And the Italian police kept leaking information that just seemed to make Amanda look worse and worse. While she was in custody, she had a physical exam and a blood test, and the cops told her she was HIV positive and probably had AIDS. She had been keeping a diary in prison, and she wrote about how she was worried now for her future, and also wrote a list of all her sexual partners and what kind of protection, if any, she used with them. Anyway,
Amanda.
Someone leaked her diary to the press, and copies of it were published around the world. And it turns out the HIV diagnosis was false, and the cops were just playing mind games with her. Meanwhile, they still don't have a murder weapon, so they search Raffaele's house and find a knife in the kitchen that could have produced Mez's wounds. The DNA showed Amanda's DNA on the handle and Mez's on the blade. Not only that, but Raffaele's DNA was also found on Mez's bra clasp that was ripped off of her bra during the murder. But there was also a third person's fingerprints and DNA found at the crime scene, and that belonged to a local burglar named Rudy Gede. Rudy had been an acquaintance of the guys downstairs. Like, they knew him from playing basketball, and he'd been over to the house sort of outside, but not exactly like inside, and certainly not up to the girls' apartment. Anyway, by the time the cops connected him to the scene, he had already fled to Germany. They were able to extradite him back to Italy, and he produced this story. According to him, Mez invited him up and they started messing around, but didn't have sex because neither one of them could find a condom. Suddenly, he started having tummy problems and ran to the bathroom across the hall to take a shit. That's when he hears Mez scream. He comes back from the bathroom and sees an unidentified man standing over Mez as she's bleeding out. The man runs away, and now Rudy finds himself covered in blood, and he panics and runs away too. In an effort to separate Rudy from the upcoming trial of Amanda and Raffaele, Rudy's lawyer opts for what's called a fast-track trial for his client, which it sounds to me is a lot like a plea bargain, but they still present the facts. At his trial, Rudy changes his story to say that he saw the silhouette of Amanda leaving the crime scene, and he maintains that he had nothing to do with the murder. He's subsequently found guilty and sentenced to 30 years in prison. But because he chose a fast-track trial, they automatically chop off a chunk of the sentence, and so it was lowered to 16 years. So here we have a defendant convicted in Mez's murder, and this was like barely a blip for the international media. Like they don't give a fuck.
No, because they want to paint a story, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Paint a story.
This is showbiz.
Paint a story, bitch.
Yeah. Under the Tuscan sun, am I right? This is the part 2.
So anyway, they were completely focused on Foxy Knoxy, as all the headlines had taken to calling her. So it's been a year and a half since the murder, and in 2009, Amanda and Raffaello are finally going to trial. In Italy, this is being called the trial of the century, and you can only imagine how big the international media had made this case in the last year and a half, and especially since Rudy's trial where he directly implicated Amanda. Amanda and Raffaello pled not guilty. The prosecution presented a case theorizing that Mez walked in on Amanda and Raffaello and Rudy kicking it at the house, and Mez got mad at Amanda for having guys over and a general, quote, lack of morals. Then Amanda blew up at her, somehow grabbed a knife, one thing led to another, and they all participated in her sexual assault and murder. Both the media and Italian law experts consider this basically an open and shut case. In December of 2009, the court found them both guilty and sentenced Amanda to 26 years and Raffaello to 25 years.
That's fucking insane. What the fuck?
Here in the United States, the reaction to the verdict was kind of mixed. Given the evidence and the Foxy Knoxy media coverage, it wasn't hard to convince people that Amanda was a killer. But there was a kind of anti-Americanism in the air throughout the Italian media's coverage of the case, and even in the trial itself. Also, I should point out that Rudy was originally from the Ivory Coast, so he was also a quote-unquote foreigner, and he was black. So in his case, there was also a sort of like, his case was also infused with like prejudice.
Right.
In the coverage it got from the Italian media. Anyway, so in the US, people were like, yeah, she probably did it, but it doesn't seem like she got a fair trial. Which I'm sort of proud of us as a culture for being able to hold both of those thoughts in our head at the same time, because
Yeah, because we are so like one-sided, like two things can't be true or whatever.
Right, yeah, we're so bad at that.
Yeah.
So in the Italian system, that guilty verdict is just phase 1. You automatically get an appeal after a guilty verdict.
Oh, that's cool.
So phase 2 began in November 2010. The court ordered an independent reassessment of the DNA evidence, and it turns out that it was all super sketch. First of all, you can see in the videos of the crime scene, the same video that shows Amanda and Raffaello cuddling and shit, you see a ton of people going through the scene like it was nothing.
Yeah.
There's only one person wearing a protective suit and like booties. Everyone else is running through that house like a Tomb Raider. In the forensic evidence video from inside the scene, no one's changing their gloves. It's literally a nightmare scenario for maintaining a clean crime scene and collecting good evidence. The bra clasp with Raffaello's DNA on it wasn't found until 46 days after the murder, and it had 2 other unknown male DNA profiles on it. Given what we know about the scene and like how it was maintained, or rather not maintained, it's extremely possible that the clasp could have been tainted in a number of ways during that 46 days.
Right.
Also, the knife. The knife for sure had Amanda's DNA on the handle. It had a pretty good profile, but Mez's DNA on the blade was so infinitesimally, I cannot say.
That's a word right there.
Infinitely small. Let's say that.
There you go.
Was so infinitely small that at best it's inconclusive, and at worst you've got some contamination.
Yeah.
And it turns out that in the lab they were examining 50 other of Mez's samples at the same time. So really, the 2 most concrete pieces of evidence against Amanda and Raffaello are bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And when that comes out, people in the US and the media over here start to get fired up.
Mm-hmm.
Even Trump was like, I think the president should get involved and that people should boycott Italy.
Dude, shut the fuck. Jesus Christ.
He always got to open his mouth, huh?
No.
Anyway, so now people in Italy are super salty that the American media has turned on them. Because now the narrative is like, oh, their police are backwards. They don't understand DNA, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
But the Italian police are like, don't focus on the DNA. She's clearly a psychopath. Just look at the way she acted after the murder. She confessed that she was there. After the appeal, 4 years after the murder, in October of 2011, Amanda and Raffaello were found not guilty.
Yeah.
The court agreed that their so-called confessions were made under duress, especially given that she didn't really speak Italian.
Yeah. Fuck.
And also that there were 0 credible pieces of forensic evidence to tie them to the crime.
Yeah.
And that neither of them had any ties to Rudy.
Yeah. And Rudy's story doesn't corroborate what the prosecutor is trying to paint happened. So I don't even understand how that fucking works out.
Exactly. So, and that their committing of the crime was, quote, far from probable. So Amanda immediately hops on a plane to Seattle and gets the fuck out of Italy.
Yeah.
Because actually Italians were in an absolute uproar. They considered this a complete miscarriage of justice, and they were vocally angry with their acquittal. They were like outside the courtroom yelling, shame, shame, shame.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like pretty bad. Then in March of 2013, the Italian Supreme Court threw out the acquittals and found them guilty again, based entirely on circumstantial evidence.
What?
Amanda was still in the US anyway, but Raffaello didn't have to go back to prison because they appealed the decision to the Italian Supreme Court, who took their case in March of 2015. Finally, the court ruled that Amanda and Raffaele were not guilty, and they absolutely dragged the lower court in their ruling. They basically said that they omitted any evidence that pointed to Amanda and Raffaele not being at the scene, that they bungled the forensics, and that they were too influenced by the media.
Hell yeah.
Mez's family, who believed from the beginning that Amanda and Raffaele were guilty, put out a statement that they vehemently disagreed with the court's ruling.
Wow. I feel bad for them.
I feel really bad for them because
Yeah,
I
they're
mean,
in
like,
a tough spot. You want to have some sort of answer there.
right. And if somebody's telling you from day one, we know it was them, and they seem so confident,
Yeah.
it's like, of course, that's what you're going to believe, you know?
Yeah.
Raffaele found it hard to return to his life in Italy after spending 4 years in prison, much of it in solitary confinement.
Oh, fuck.
Everyone in Italy knows his face, so he
Yeah.
has nowhere to hide. It's really sad. He seemed to ultimately get back on his feet, though. He started an internet company, and also he's a true crime expert on Italian TV.
Oh, wow. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, like you might as well, because people are going
Yeah.
to be like fucking
Yeah.
bothering you about this for the rest of your life anyway.
Seriously, just change the narrative.
Right, exactly. Amanda's family went broke paying for her defense.
I bet.
She became a writer and a journalist, which I think is really sweet because that's what Mez wanted to do.
Yeah.
And she's also an advocate for the wrongly convicted, working closely with the Innocence Project.
Wow.
And she got married in 2018 to newspaper bae Christopher Robinson of Robinson Newspapers.
Okay.
So I wish her the best. And that's the story of Amanda Knox.
That shit's so wild, man.
Rest in peace to Meredith Hercher.
Yeah. R.I.P.
It's really shitty because, like, she became, we see this all the time, but she's like a background character in her own
Death.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she died super young, right? Like 20, 21?
She was 21, I think.
Fucked up. And
And-
I wonder what do you think happened? You think Rudy killed her?
Yeah, Rudy killed her. Rudy, like,
Yeah.
broke into the house. He was like, oh, these, like, there's those girls that live upstairs. Like,
yeah.
he thought nobody was home, probably. Like,
Yeah.
found her, whatever, shit went wrong, killed her,
Yeah.
and bounced.
Yeah.
Took a shit for some reason.
Yeah, you're just gonna leave all
He really had to go.
I know.
Or maybe it was like you don't break into a house expecting to kill someone. Maybe he shot himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, that's
some
true.
people vomit, some people shit.
Yeah.
Speaking of shit, like I was thinking about this all happened to Amanda and Raffaele because the media was so eager to like portray her as this like white, young psychopath.
yeah.
Like, God, we have plenty of those. Homegirl that shit herself, the one that goes to the college campuses,
I know, that's
with
what
the
I'm
gun.
thinking of right now. Yeah.
She's a psychopath.
Hell
we
yeah,
we
she
got enough.
is.
We don't need you guys inventing extra ones.
Seriously.
What's that bitch's name?
I don't know. I fucking hate her.
Yeah.
I don't know. Fuck that girl.
Poo poo pants.
Yeah. White girl guns.
You're right, girl.
It starts with a K.
MAGA.
Caitlyn Bennett.
Caitlyn Bennett. Yeah, fuck her.
Yeah.
Trying to find out why people act as they do.
Okay, I'm going to talk about something way different.
Okay.
I'm going to talk about Genie. I don't know if a lot of people know this story, but it's one that's always kind of fascinated me in a weird way.
Yeah. I Dream of Genie?
No. Is it feral or feral?
Feral.
Feral. Okay, so Genie is a feral child.
Oof.
This is a story of severe... What? Oh, okay. Like a feral cat, he said.
Yeah, thank you, Joel.
So this is a story of severe child abuse. A lot of the doctors that worked with Genie later on said it was the most severe case of child abuse they ever encountered in their entire careers. So
Wow.
trigger fucking warning.
Yeah.
And a lot about Genie's childhood is actually not known because we just kind of piece things together by questioning her parents who are incredible
Mm-hmm.
and bits that she ends up revealing as she grows up.
Okay.
So I got a lot of this from the TLC documentary about Genie and a Guardian article about her by Rory Carroll. Okay, so Genie was a young girl born in Arcadia, California. Shout out to Arcadia.
Damn, she from Arcadia?
Yup.
Oh, they got that bum Hunan chicken out there.
Ooh. RIP to the original Din Tai Fung.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for real, R.I.P.
So she was born in 1957. Her dad, Clark, was a factory worker, and her mom, Irene, was a stay-at-home mom. Irene was 20 years younger than Clark, and she had suffered a severe head injury, causing neurological damage and vision problems. Her parents had 4 children total, but only 2 survived.
Okay.
Clark grew up in orphanages?
Yeah.
Okay. In the Pacific Northwest.
Okay.
His father died after being struck by lightning.
Jesus, this is weird.
Random.
This is too many weird things have happened and you just started.
Check this out. And his mom ran a brothel.
What?
Mad Men vibes.
Yay.
And
I
she
knew
didn't
someone who was struck by lightning. Yeah, one of the kids in my elementary school, he like walked with a limp and stuff. Like his leg was all fucked up.
Oh, fuck me. I shouldn't have laughed. My bad. That's
He was
such
a
a
freak,
random
though.
thing. He what? Well, fuck.
He would like eat paint off the walls and shit.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Was he a feral child?
So Clark's mom, she didn't care about him. So he grew up in orphanages.
Mm-hmm.
He was also given a feminine first name, which we don't know because he later changed to Clark.
Oh.
And he had these deep resentments towards his mom for that and for her lack of interest in him. Clark and his mother later reconciled in his adulthood, which then became like an obsession for Clark.
Mm-hmm.
And so then Clark and Irene got married. They were initially happy, but it ended up turning abusive. And Clark began preventing Irene from leaving their house. Plus, she had vision impairment, which really also prevented her from being able to leave by herself anyways, causing complete dependency on her abusive husband.
So she had that problem before they got married?
Yeah, like she had that problem.
Okay.
Initially, they didn't want children, but unfortunately, Irene became pregnant. He beat her throughout her first pregnancy and even attempted to strangle her to death. But she ended up giving birth to a healthy daughter. Clark found the baby annoying, so he would put her in the garage when she cried too loud.
Jesus, fuck you, Clark.
The baby got pneumonia and died 10 weeks later.
Wow.
Their second child was born a year later and died at 2 days of age from choking on his own mucus.
Oh, God.
Their third son was born healthy, but Clark forced Irene to keep the boy silent, causing linguistic developmental delays.
Wow.
Then Genie was born about 5 years after the first surviving son. She was underweight, but she was okay. And by now, Clark had begun isolating the entire family from everyone. Genie had an evaluation at 3 months old showing normal weight gain, but a hip dislocation that required a restrictive splint.
What?
I know, that's random, right?
Yeah.
Nonetheless, she seemed to have normal early development, even though the splint caused kind of a delay in her learning to walk.
Uh-huh.
Clark thought her inability to walk was due to mental incapacity. Like he just kind of convinced himself that she was mentally ill.
Mm-hmm.
And he hated that. So he made special effort not to talk or pay any attention to her as a baby.
Why doesn't he just leave?
I
Like,
don't know.
you don't want anything to do with your family, so just go.
I don't understand what this man's problem is. He would also encourage Irene and his son not to talk to Genie and would get mad at them if they did.
Mm.
Irene said that Genie didn't babble much as a baby. Ow, fuck, I got a cramp. Oh, fuck.
15 minutes later.
Joel's barely getting there right now.
Sorry. Let me put you back on.
There we go.
Okay. So at 11 months, Genie fell to the 11th percentile for weight, clearly indicating that she was suffering from malnutrition. At 20 months old, Clark's mom, her grandmother, died in a hit-and-run accident while she was walking with Genie's older brother.
What?
Clark became like beyond grief, and he blamed his son for the accident because he's an asshole.
His like 5-6-year-old son?
Yeah.
Jesus.
His anger grew and he became like paranoid.
Mm-hmm.
And he also started becoming obsessive with the isolation of his family, especially for Genie, which Irene said he thought of it as a way to like, quote, protect her from the outside world.
Mm-hmm.
So he ended up quitting his job and he moved the family into his mother's house. While there, he confined Genie to the second bedroom in the back of the house, while everybody else was forced to sleep in the living room.
Weird.
It's a very old house. There's only 2 bedrooms, but still.
Yeah.
During the day, he tied Genie to a toilet with a makeshift harness. She wore diapers and was only able to move her extremities. At night, he would tie her to a sleeping bag inside of a crib. And it's speculated that if Genie made any noise, he would hit her. He would also growl and bark at her like a dog and used his fingernails to scratch her. As a result, Genie learned to stay as mute as possible.
He's sick.
What is that?
He's sick. There's something wrong with him.
Way wrong with him, right? Like, you
Yeah.
can't even get to how wrong.
Like, it's beyond just being a violent prick or whatever. It's like,
right. This is like, this is evil,
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
this is like not normal
Right.
abuse. This is insane abuse. Clark also refused to have a TV or radio in their house and would beat his wife or son if they spoke at all, especially if they spoke around Genie.
Mhm.
Obviously, this caused Genie to be severely prevented from learning any meaningful amount of language. At some point, she developed a tendency to masturbate in inappropriate contexts,
Mhm.
which led doctors to consider that maybe her father or brother had sexually abused her.
Interesting.
But there's no definite evidence as to that. So,
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I think sometimes kids too, they don't know what they're doing.
Or I wonder if like that's how the only thing that she could do to feel comfort, you know?
Maybe,
Because like it feels
you know, and
good.
she doesn't know what she's
Right,
doing.
right.
Yeah, she doesn't know it's wrong.
Well, not that it's wrong, but okay,
As a
inappropriate.
baby,
inappropriate
like
times?
public.
Yeah.
So Genie was spoon-fed baby food, cereal, and liquids, and that was the only time her mother was allowed to be with her.
Mhm.
Her mother said that she would often sneak into the room late at night to feed her some more, causing Genie to develop an abnormal sleep pattern. Everyone was prevented from leaving the house except for her brother, who was allowed to go to and from school. And when he came back, he was required to prove his identity through various means before entering.
What?
No one in the neighborhood knew that Genie's parents had a second child.
Mhm.
Her father kept detailed notes of his mistreatment on his family and his efforts to conceal it. He taught his son how to lie, basically,
Mhm.
and his son was forced to carry out more and more abuse of Genie the older he got. His son later said that he was basically he felt powerless and he felt like he couldn't do anything to stop it.
I bet.
He ran away from home a bunch of times,
Mhm.
like all the time. Their dad thought that Genie was going to die at age 12, like he had just kind of convinced himself. And he had promised Irene that if she did live past that age, that he'd let his wife seek assistance for her. But that day came and went. And like Irene said, she never got the courage to like bring it up.
Wait, so it was like not that she was dying, but that it was like a prophecy type thing?
I don't know about that. I think he just thought like she can't make it past
Uh-huh.
12, like the way that she is.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I don't want to give this man too much credit. He don't know what prophecy is.
Because he's so paranoid and stuff. It sounds like one of
That's
those
true,
things
yeah.
that, you know, like in 2020, something's going to happen.
Fuck.
You know, and it
You
did.
said a mouthful there, sister. In October 1970, when Genie was 13 years old, her parents had a violent argument and Irene took off with Genie while Clark was out of the house and fled to her parents' home in Monterey Park. She had finally had fucking enough.
Yeah.
By this time, Genie's brother had already run away from home and was living with friends. A few days later, Irene decided to apply for disability benefits on account of her being blind, basically.
Uh-huh.
And she took Genie with her, but she accidentally entered the social services office instead of the disability office because she can't see.
Yeah.
The social worker who greeted them instantly knew that something was wrong because she said she thought Genie was maybe 6 or 7, and she found out Genie was 13.
Yeah.
They quickly questioned Irene and called the police. Both parents were immediately arrested, and Genie immediately became a ward of the court, and she was taken to Children's Hospital Los Angeles.
Yeah. This is like the Octomom episode where it has like hella SoCal landmarks.
Yeah, right? That one was more lighthearted, though. We could make a lot more jokes.
Yeah.
Several high-profile psychology researchers, professors, doctors, and even students came to examine Genie at the Children's Hospital. The story hit the news on November 17th and gained national attention. Her father was like bombarded basically by media and crowds that would gather to try and see him, but he refused to speak to anyone. And also, this was really hard for him to handle all this attention now because remember, he wants to be completely isolated from the outside world. Clark was scheduled to have court on November 20th on severe child abuse charges, but the night before, he shot himself in the head and died.
I knew that was gonna fucking happen.
He left 2 notes, one for his son that said, "Be a good boy, I love you," and one for the police, which said, "The world will never understand."
No, we absolutely will the fuck not.
I hate this about him because, like, there's so many questions, right? Like,
Right.
there's no justice served there.
But I mean, this person is so severely mentally ill that there's no answer that he could give that would be satisfying.
Right.
It would be like, the monsters told me to do it or whatever the fuck, you know?
Kind of like remember I did that episode on she killed all her children?
From Texas.
Yes. And it's also like just like devastating like that.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. Genie's mother had all of her charges dropped once the court heard of her own abuse and isolation, which she argued caused her unable to protect her children. Which I feel bad for Irene, and I do see that, but at the same time, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you could have tried. I don't know. And then you don't want to judge someone in that situation. Like, you don't know what the fuck it's like, you know? She's also like partially blind.
That's what I was gonna say, but it's like, you did it, right?
Yeah,
like,
it just took you a while.
Right. So,
Staff at the hospital immediately began exclusively focusing on Genie. She was 4'6" and weighed 59 pounds.
wow.
She had 2 full sets of teeth, a distended abdomen, an underside rib cage, and she couldn't focus her vision more than the 10-foot dimensions of the room that she had been kept in her entire life.
That's crazy.
Genie could not stand up straight. She couldn't straighten her limbs. So they always say that like she walked like a bunny, kind of. Like she would like hop, kind of. She could not chew or swallow solid food, and she had absolutely no endurance for like walking or anything.
Wow.
Cognitively and mentally, she scored at levels of a 13-month-old.
What?
She is 13 years old.
Yeah.
Objects and environments seem to intrigue her way more than people.
Mm-hmm.
Like she would have interests in staff members, and she would actually like approach and walk with strangers, but she didn't seem to distinguish between people, and she showed absolutely no signs of any emotional attachment to anyone, including her mom and her brother.
Wow.
She was especially curious about sounds, and she would seek their sources. And she had an extreme fear of cats and dogs. Which we know now is because it seems her dad maybe like barked at her.
Right. And the sounds, because she never really, because the house, the house was silent.
So they said that on the street she lived on, there was like a kid that played the classical piano, which I didn't write this in, but so she, from her room, she could hear classical piano.
Mm-hmm.
So like she didn't really care for music, but she loved classical piano. Like if they put on classical piano, she would like get really happy. Doctors said that Irene seemed entirely oblivious to Genie's emotions or actions as being bizarre or different.
Even though she had another child.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Genie constantly salivated and spat. She blew her nose on anything nearby. She had no sense of personal property. She had no situational awareness. She acted on impulse and, like I said, frequently masturbated in public. And she would often attempt to involve older men, which is part of why they believe that she was sexually abused.
Yeah, that makes sense.
When upset, she would hit herself, but remain completely expressionless. She never cried. She never screamed. So researchers and academics were extremely interested in Genie. Mostly linguists.
Mm-hmm.
Linguists came to study her because she was the first language deprived child that they were going to be able to undergo like this amount of testing on.
Mm-hmm.
Academic circles began discussing the hypothesis of Noam Chomsky, who suggested that language was innate to humans and this distinguishes us from other animals. Also, Eric Lenneberg, who hypothesized that humans have a critical period in early age for language acquisition. Prior to Genie, there had been no way to test these hypotheses. The lead student on the case was Susan Curtis, who ended up becoming really, really close to Genie and who you see in like any documentary about Genie. They found that basically she had an understanding of her name and 15 other words. Her active vocabulary consisted of only 2 phrases: stop it and no more, which is really sad.
Well, that's very useful.
Yeah. Tests found no explanation psychologically or physiologically for her lack of language. She simply had not acquired a first language. She learned to respond with nonverbal stimuli before verbal stimuli.
Mm-hmm.
And others would respond to her body language. Like, she seemed to understand that, like, she could express herself nonverbally and people would respond.
Mm-hmm.
For example, like, people would buy her things that they sensed she wanted because, like, she wouldn't stop looking at it or whatever.
Right.
They found that she became very selective with her words, like, the longer she was in the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
to a degree not normally found. And by now she had been testing at like 4-year-old levels.
Oh, so she's advancing.
Right. So she knew more words than she was using.
Mm-hmm.
They could tell.
Mm-hmm.
What she really struggled with was grammar and conversational competence, because she only spoke in short utterances. And this led to like this entirely new theory about how like conversation is a completely different skill than really knowing language. And all these researchers started writing papers about this shit. And it was like huge.
Yeah. I actually just read about this, the Noam Chomsky thing too, because they had that chimp.
Oh,
Noam Chomsky or something that they tried to experiment on in the same way to see if he was right about language development. And it's like they tried to teach the chimp like sign language and shit.
yeah. What happened?
It didn't work.
Right.
Like the researchers thought that it did work, but then when you really go back and look at like the tapes and stuff with a critical eye, you'll see that maybe you're signing something and you think that the chimp understands you, but it's gonna guess correctly what you signed, X amount of times out of 100 or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, so also Genie confused pronouns, which led them to believe that she was unable to distinguish who she or someone else was.
That's fascinating. I think, therefore, I am. I don't fucking know.
Ultimately, it was concluded that because she hadn't acquired a first language before the critical period had ended, like the other theory, she was just basically going to be able to fully acquire a language. Because like they had found, like, obviously language isn't just words, kind of like what you're saying, like language isn't just sign.
Right.
Language is grammar, sentences, conversations.
Yeah.
And so her inability to really gain those other skills would make her acclimation very difficult. Jay Shirley, a professor of psychiatry at the University of Oklahoma, took a huge interest in Genie's case. He conducted daily observations and sleep studies of her, and he concluded that she was not autistic, but slightly mentally incapacitated with high levels of emotional disturbance due to the abuse that she had suffered.
Yeah, trauma.
Yeah. Other doctors disputed whether or not Genie was actually incapacitated or whether it was just like a reaction to her trauma. But they found that after she was rescued, quote unquote, she made a year's developmental progress every calendar year after her rescue.
That's fucking fascinating.
Right?
Wow.
Within a few days of her rescue, she was able to use the toilet by herself. One of the first doctors on the case, James Kent, realized that a ton of people were going to be working with her and she needed to have a more normal relationship with somebody. So he tried to be the most steady presence in her life. So there's pictures like he would walk with her to all of her appointments and he would read her like a book at the end of the day before he left. Like he was always with her. By December, Genie had grown and put on weight and was doing better with like her movements and her gait and everything. She began hoarding. Usually, I know. Usually very colorful things. Like they said she loved colorful, like, those pails that kids take to the beach, like pails and shovels. Yeah. And she would get very upset if anybody touched or moved anything that she had been collecting. She also liked to drop and destroy objects, and she liked it when other people would drop and destroy objects.
I mean, that's objectively fun. Like when you throw like an egg or something,
Yeah.
That shit's tight.
A month into her stay, she became more sociable with familiar adults, mostly that one doctor, James Kent.
Mm-hmm.
And she began enjoying receiving and giving hugs.
Wow.
I know.
That's a breakthrough.
Seriously. The hospital was given a grant from the National Institute of Mental Health to continue doing studies on Genie. By May 1971, she had dramatically progressed and was found to have the mental age of a 4-year-old. Around that time, there was a small earthquake in LA, and a frightened Genie ran to the kitchen and rapidly spoke to the cooks that she had befriended, marking the first time that she had ever sought out comfort from another human and the first time she was ever readily verbal.
That's amazing.
So at that time was when they were doing the linguistic studies, and they were like, yeah, she knows a lot more language than she like uses.
Right.
And she's clearly like above a 4-year-old. But
And I wonder if she doesn't use it because she expresses herself, like she gets her point across other ways.
Right.
Or if she's not getting her point across and she just is like, fuck it.
Yeah. I don't know. In April 1971, she was found attacking another patient.
No.
Because she thought that Genie thought she owned the hospital dress that the other girl had on.
Okay.
This was the first time that Genie had ever directed her anger outwards, because usually she would hit herself if something angered her. Then Genie was granted to stay with her caretaker, Jean Butler, who had petitioned to foster her. After she moved in with Butler, she showed the first signs of puberty, which made a dramatic improvement in her health, and she became more talkative. But Butler started to push off the researchers and doctors and wouldn't let them test Genie anymore, like as frequently.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the doctors said Butler took Genie kind of for clout, and later Butler was rejected in her foster application, which it was kind of really fucked up. Butler was a single woman, and like they kind of painted this picture like, oh, like it's not going to be good for Genie to be living with this single woman and all this shit.
Yeah, but they just wanted to use her
for her study.
Yeah.
Shit. Genie then moved to Los Feliz with Dr. Rigler, whose wife was a social worker and who had 3 children of his own.
Mm-hmm.
She ended up staying with them for 4 years, and it was really beneficial for her. Mrs. Rigler began teaching Genie, and the research teams resumed observations and evaluations. Her mother started meeting with her once a week, and they started growing a better bond. Initially, Genie didn't do as well with the Riglers as she had with Butler, and she started wetting herself again. But Marilyn Rigler, like I said, she was a social worker, so she seemed to really do good with Genie. She realized Genie likes attention for her looks, so she taught Genie how to paint her nails.
Oh.
And if Genie did something socially unacceptable, she would tell her like, oh, Genie, that doesn't look good.
Mm-hmm.
So Genie learned to stop like hitting herself, scratching herself, masturbating in public. Then her mood improved and she seemed like actually happy with her life.
I wonder if it's healthy to have her mom in her life though, because
I don't think it is.
It's not like
And
she.
we'll see that.
Oh, okay, because she doesn't
It's
have attachments to people. So then, like, why keep the mom around? I guess you can't.
You can't do anything because she's under 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still, I think you're right. She shouldn't have she should have just let her stay with the Riglers. But anyways, so the Riglers put Genie in a school for special needs children, and Genie learned to be more independent. She began making significant strides in every field she was being tested in, and there was a lot of optimism about her social development during this period. The Riglers started to overhear Genie talk about her childhood when she was by herself, and she started muttering little phrases like "father hit" to herself, like when she was playing or something.
Yeah.
And she seemed really anxious about where her dad was, and she would ask them about him, afraid that he was going to come get her.
Did they tell her?
Yeah, so the Riglers taught her about death, and they explained to her what happened, and Genie seemed to find comfort in that.
Wow.
I know. She also began to draw when she wanted to explain something that she was unable to communicate. So Marilyn taught Genie sign language. And then she started to use sign language. However, Genie's progress was basically all over the place. she'd test high on some things and really low on other things, and they really couldn't find her mental age definitively other than like a range.
Mm-hmm.
The researchers started to get criticized for having like a real lack of scientific data from all this research, and funding started to slow down. Plus, the world had kind of moved on from the story, you know.
Yeah.
It's like 1974. It was like the Beatles, Vietnam. They were over it.
Mm-hmm.
In 1975, Genie turned 18, and her mom was like, you know what? Genie wants to come home with me. So the Wrigglers were like, okay, like if, you know, they were like, if you want to go with your mom, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
They just told Irene, let us know if you need any help or anything, and we could step back in.
Mm-hmm.
But Irene never contacted them. And after a few months, she couldn't deal with Genie's behavior. So secretly placed Genie into the foster system.
What? How secretly? That's crazy.
Like, she didn't have to tell the Wrigglers or any of the research team because they're not her family.
Right.
But it's fucked up because they cared about her.
Oh, God. And she needs special attention.
The first home she was sent to abused her emotionally and physically, causing a bunch of issues to resurface.
Yeah.
She stopped talking and became entirely dependent on sign language. One of the researchers, Susan Curtis, found out about what was going on and petitioned to have her taken out of the home. She then went to 2 other foster homes that were okay, but abruptly ended, which also caused regression and trauma.
Mm-hmm.
She then basically bounced around from foster home to foster home from 1978 until the 1990s.
What the fuck?
In 1984, some of the scientists were invited to her 27th birthday party, and they said that it was awful. Basically, that she was depressed, she was mute.
Yeah.
And she had like really regressed. As of 2016, Genie is still a ward of the state of California, living in a small private facility for underdeveloped adults. She appears to be happy, according to some of the researchers that still have contact with her.
Mm-hmm.
And she primarily communicates with sign language. Her mother died in 2003. Her brother visited her once in 1982 and never again. And he died in 2011.
Ooh.
And that is the really sad story of Genie, the
God.
feral child.
Not a single high point in that story.
Isn't it so sad? Like, she kind of got a peek with the Wrigglers, and then she just fucking totally regressed. Like, the end of her life became really sad. In the documentaries I watched, that researcher Susan Curtis talks about how, like, Genie's mom ended up petitioning for a lot of them to be unable to see her, and Susan was one of them. And Susan is like, I have a lot of desire to see Genie, not in an academic way. Like, I wonder how she's doing. And like, I really did care about her.
Right.
Yeah.
And you would think that for like a special case like this, that somehow, some way the state would show special interest, not just let her fucking
go down this awful path.
Yeah.
Well, guys, that was this week's episode.
That was this week's terrible clip.
Seriously. Tune in next week for something lighthearted.
Yes.
Hit us up on Instagram and Twitter at Drama Club Pod, on the website dramaclubpod.com.
On the hotline, 505-539-0556, at our P.O. Box, P.O. Box number 27433, LACA 90027. Leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Send us money like Suzanne did.
Hey.
And we'll talk to you on Thursday with a brand new Afternoon Delight episode.
Bye.
Bye.
However, whatever with your helmet.